Hello, everyone. Hello, Sarah.
Thanks.
Hello, Melinda.
Hi, Katie.
And we got another Sarah joining us. Awesome sauce. 2 Sarahs in the meeting. Say what? Welcome, welcome. So as we wait for more people to join us, I just wanted to start out by saying thank you so much for coming on for this full moon circle. Some of you have been coming every month for like the last year or so, and we just really appreciate all of the support that you've been giving to the community by showing up and sharing energy, but also to the pond, because many of you do also donate to the workshop. And as you know, all of the donations are going right back to Lotus Pond to help support the space so that they can continue to provide this awesome atmosphere for us to get together and learn and share and create. So it means a lot to me. I know I can speak for Anna as well. And it's just been such a joy being able to do these circles with you all virtually. We do hope to get back together in person one day soon. But, you know, for now, while we are online with each other, it's just been such a great turnout and such great words that are shared even at the end of our meetings. So it's really just such a pleasure to learn with you all and to grow with you all. And that's like the word I keep coming back to a lot recently is just growth. I think a lot of us can relate to that word growth as we've changed and evolved quite a bit in the last year. And so I just want you all to think about that before we even start the meeting. Just think about how much you've grown and give yourself a little like pat on the back, because you're doing a really good job, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, where you've, you know, what you've overcome. Like I can just say 100% that I know everyone that's showing up tonight has grown in such a beautiful way. And I really appreciate just getting to share that with you. So I think we've got just a couple more minutes. We're going to see if anyone else is joining us. And for now, you may want to make sure you have a journal and a pen nearby. This is a workshop where we're going to add a lot of really great moments for self-reflection and introspection. So if you don't already have a journal and pen, take the next couple minutes to go grab one. And if you'd like a glass of water or maybe some tea, just to have nearby so that you can stay cozy while you're watching the workshop. And also any props that you want to use for meditation, you may want to have those nearby as well. So we're going to start here in just a moment. And also just to let you guys know, this Zoom meeting is being recorded, but no one's face will appear in the recording. It's just going to be Anna and I throughout the recording. And we do share this with others who are not able to attend live. So that is the main intention that we're recording it. So just so you know. And I'm going to pass it over to Anna.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I know last weekend we had so many clouds and so much like lack of sun, and I have really been enjoying not only just the feeling of this freshness of the breeze that the full moon is bringing, but also how much light is also coming. We had the equinox back on March 20th. So that means we've now shifted into spring. We're shifting into a lighter season, getting away from the heaviness of winter. And so I know I've been speaking about this, but a lot of people have been saying the beginning of the year didn't really feel like the beginning of the year, a new year. For me, this is the month where I kind of finally am feeling the shift and almost as if the world is coming back alive again. It's been really nice. As though the world's been opening, I've really been paying attention to how I view myself against others. And that's perfect with the timing of this full moon, because the full moon is in Libra. And Libra is represented with scales. And that in itself is basically this idea of weighing two things against one another. And when we're weighing them against a balance point. But what is balance? That is, I think, a question that we haven't even slightly begun to ask enough. And so we'll start to investigate that together. Giving me one moment. So, balance. Full moon in Libra, weighing self-worth. So basically what we're doing so often in life is we are going around our day looking at others and then making a quick internal judgment. Where are they ahead of me? Where are they behind me? Where am I in relation to them in weight? Where am I in relation to them in job? These are these quick, almost completely subconscious judgments that we're having constantly in our day, constantly measuring our self-worth, creating little judgments about who we're supposed to be versus who we are in this moment. So thinking of the word balanced, many of us have many different senses of what that encompasses for us. So to come to a consensus of what balanced mean, here's some definitions from just a Webster dictionary. First is keeping or showing balance, arranged in good proportions, taking everything into account, fairly judged or present. And that first definition, that's pretty vague. Showing a balance, well, what is balance? How are you going to use the same word to define a word? The second definition, taking everything into account, fairly judged or present. Well, what is fair? Again, who is doing this judging? What is the starting point? What's the reference? Third, having different elements in the correct proportions. Okay, that kind of makes a little bit more sense to me. You know, when you're thinking about all your different aspects of life, like tennis balls and you're juggling them, having them going in the right rate, that could be balance. But my favorite one was being symmetrical with respect to a reference point. But who is deciding what our reference points are? And what if, in fact, the reference point that we've been using is completely wrong? If you look to social media, the people you're going to see on there are smiling, they're happy, they're on their way to the gym with a smile on their face, clothes completely done, because who takes a picture when you look sloppy? They're eating a healthy meal after a long work day. They're giving themselves a pat on the back and some affirmation, which is great because we all deserve more love in our life. But the issue is when we start using someone else's words of affirmation as a way to harm and hurt ourselves and say we're not good enough. Because when we're having a long day and we look to someone else who seems to be having a long day and maybe is doing it with more energy than we are, we think, oh, I should be able to do that. If we look at a body and we believe this idea that a normal human body is supposed to have defined muscles and no fat and very strong and can run miles, if we're coming from there as our reference point, is that fair? Who said that that is truly healthy? Who said that appearances is what we're looking for? So let's start to get a little bit real about what we're doing to ourselves. Are we really trying to evoke change? Are we really trying to develop, as Katie says, to grow? Or are we constantly using ourselves with a ruler, weighing our self-worth against others? Are we using our balance point, our reference point, as a way to punish ourselves for not being there yet? So we'll begin to investigate, if you have your journal, what do we measure ourselves against? And the first thing I want you to begin to think about is, what is my idea of a balanced me? So closing your eyes and just thinking about what a balanced you is. And there's not a right or wrong answer to this question, but maybe just imagine a day in the life of a balanced you. What would that entail? What would that look like? And then opening the eyes, going to your journal, list at least 5 specific aspects of self you're seeking balance in. And so I really don't want to give examples because I want this to be an intuitive process. But what I mean by that is that when you imagine balanced, what is balanced? And what does balance manifest itself as? And so looking down at those 5 specific aspects of self, can you list them? So if you were talking about balance, were you talking about balance in work? So that would be one aspect. Were you talking about balance in a romantic relationship? That would be another aspect. Were you talking about balance when it comes to your health? Were you talking about balance when it comes to your hobbies? So just list down the aspects that were important to you. And kind of notice the order in which those aspects came, because whatever came to mind first is probably something that's more on your mind and more of a priority or a focus to you. Jordan Peterson often talks about the spaciousness between what we say we believe, but what we actually are acting out in our thought patterns and in our actions. And then looking at what it meant to be balanced. Was that reference point loving? Was it actually attainable? So for example, if your relationship was something you were seeking balance in, was your idea of balance no fighting? I could just pretty much say, unless you're a saint, you just set yourself up for failure there, because that's just not possible. Part of a relationship is that you're 2 individuals with different experiences expressing those experiences to each other. And the beautiful idea of life is that we're all different and we all see things differently, which means that sometimes there's going to be a little bit of conflict. So that in itself is not a good reference point. And so just picking out 1 out of the 5, I'm sure there is at least one way of balance that is not truly a loving way of inviting change, of looking to see if you're healthy in this moment. And so can you change your idea of balance, whether that's towards work, your relationship, to stay on the idea of relationship, if your focus was not fighting, can it be conscious communication, not raising my voice, walking away when I feel my stomach clench and I know I'm no longer capable of hearing someone else's experience if it maybe presses up against my truth. And if there's more aspects that you think could use a little bit more adjustment in the approach, use a little bit more love and kindness, then maybe just put a star next to those for the future. When you've been living your life in shadow, moving into the light at first will feel weird. So what's meant by that is that when you decide that what society is saying is the goal, what society is saying is balanced, is what we should be striving for, is wrong, people inherently are going to be uncomfortable with that. When you refuse to allow someone else's paradigm of the world and what you should be put on you, there is inherently, again, a tension happening. And that's what these practices of yoga allow us to do. They allow us to connect with the body and create a safe place where we can experience that discomfort that happens when two souls disagree, when two truths haven't found harmony yet. And by loving ourselves and trusting that, no, I intuitively know when I am balanced. I know when I'm treating myself kindly. And I do not need someone else's affirmation that I'm doing it right. I also would encourage you to speak up about new ideas and ways of looking at things, because you'll never know when you will validate someone else who's questioning the same questions you're having. I think what happens is that sometimes we're scared to question the narrative because we don't believe if we're really strong enough to uphold the new truth. So, for example, something that I was recently experiencing was an opportunity where I was doing a photo shoot. And what I say, I believe, is that what our bodies show up as doesn't matter. And as long as we love and connect ourselves and we're being healthy and mindful, that we really are soul. But yet at the photo shoot, the way the clothes fit me and the way my face looked in the camera, it really felt important. It really felt like it mattered. And I realized that I was allowing this idea of what I should look like pull me away from where I was right now and made me believe that what I wasn't good enough. And so that's an indication that right there is a space where a little bit more self-love can come. I think for both men and women, where this idea of imbalance shows up the most is in our relationship to our body. Our culture is constantly telling us what we're supposed to look like, what we're supposed to be doing, and how everyone else is doing better around you. And this quote that really stuck with me was, "The cultural power of the body is its beauty, but the power in the body is rare. For most have chased it away with their torture of or embarrassment by the flesh." And that word in itself, torture of, that really resonated with me. This constant taking to task, whether it's, what did I eat today? Did I get my workout in today? Are my clothes fitting the way I'm supposed to? It's like a mental ticking against the soul every single time. It's like a little knife in our heart that even though what we're saying, especially in these types of communities, that we are love, we are one, we are more than just our bodies, but yet our mind has not always caught on to that. And in moments where we feel like the body has betrayed us, where we feel disconnect, I think that's a moment where we can actually shift the gaze and investigate ourselves more. As the one who is doing the judgment, as the one who is decrying something as wanted or unwanted, as right or wrong, we truly are the ones inflicting the pain. And so in this moment together, we're going to invite a little bit of loving kindness, almost a call for forgiveness from the body. And moving forward into spring, into this new growth, this new way of being, can we stop cutting pieces of us off and instead breathe into our hands and know that it is our inherent right to expand in all ways, and that being small is never the answer. So taking the hands, spreading the fingers, cupping and bringing them to the lower belly, closing the eyes. If you feel any sort of clench around the hips, maybe elevating yourself on a blanket to allow the knees to fall to the earth, lifting up through the crown of the head, and gently bow the chin down towards the chest, bowing the mind to the heart, bowing to the intelligence of the intuition within the body, the subtle whispers it gives you when things are wrong or when things are right. And as you breathe into the hands, feel the belly expand. As you exhale gently through the mouth, let the air seep out. Feel the navel come up and in. Release. Inhale again into the hands. Feel the fullness, the expansiveness, crown reaching to the sky. Exhale. Feel the downward shift of energy, the softening of the fingers against the belly. Can you invoke more tenderness? Inhale again. Feel yourself. Exhale, inviting more softness across the face. Inhale, press the belly out, actively take up more space. Exhale, shoulders relax. The hands can stay at the belly, or the hands can come to the tops of the thighs. And come back to the breath. Feel the outline of the body. Do you feel the subtle pressure and vibration of the thighs and the hands? Do you notice the almost imperceptible lift of the legs as you inhale, as if the entire body is filling with breath? The gentle lowering on the exhale. This is your home. This is the container that houses all the joy and love within you. Bringing both hands to the heart, physical gesture of loving kindness towards oneself. Breathe into the hands and using your own words, using your own words, make a statement of affirmation to self and the body. I will no longer measure your worth by your appearance. I will no longer measure my value against how I am compared to others. Whatever resonates with you. Lowering the hands to the thighs, gently opening the eyes, taking in sights, sounds, sensation. And just noticing what are the thoughts that have been trickling up as we speak of the body. What are the first things that come into mind? As you hear my voice, what's going on in the back of your head, and just maybe jot down one or two things that you can kind of look as a starting point. That's actually your reference point of where you're starting. That judgment is where your love of self is beginning. And that's where the growth really needs to happen. And as you're finishing that up, I'm gonna switch on over to Katie that will take us into a deeper dive of this Libra and scales and Aries energy. And how balancing ourselves can really work against our own inner need to be an individual. And so how we can do that with grace and more harmony.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for starting us off, Anna. That was such a wonderful way to sink back into my body. And wow, just like the whole talk about balance and what is balance, right? What is it, the balance that we're striving for? That is something I have been asking myself so much of lately because I have such a high expectation of what a balanced life is. And I have to check myself and pretty much remind myself that this false idea of balance is actually causing more imbalance in my life. And the more I can just accept the fact that maybe if I can let go of some things, some ambitions, some, things that I'm striving for all at once, that if I can just focus on a couple things instead of all of this over here, that I can actually find this balance and harmony that exists within those areas. So I love that you made us write down the 5. I think that even just working on one of those 5 every day is good enough. Like why do we need to try to have everything balanced at all times? That's some real false beliefs right there. So I would love to share my screen with you guys so that we can talk more about Libra qualities, since we are resting in Libra. So as Anna mentioned about, trying to crave that balance or equanimity within oneself, this is a super big part of this Libra energy that we're experiencing right now. And so another way of thinking about it is trying to find like justice around in, the life around you, like in your community. And, sometimes it can be finding justice within oneself, right? So I don't think we always think about that. And I feel like a lot of the people on this meeting or anyone watching the recording, chances are you probably care about equal rights and like, equanimity amongst everyone in the world and trying to find like this beautiful harmony amongst people and individuals, right? A lot of us are yogis. That's kind of just what we want to have and that we want to experience in our lifetime. But like, it's really interesting because we so often put our own equanimity and our own equality within ourselves on the back burner. And, as we've mentioned before in these circles, it all starts with the self. How are you taking care of yourself? How is the balance within yourself? Are you experiencing equanimity in these parts of your life? And what does that equanimity look like for you? And only then, once we're able to find that within ourselves, are we able to spread that out into the world. So if you ever have this desire or this dream of peace amongst all and equanimity and equal rights, like all those things that we're really working towards, then we really need to spend some time looking at how we're treating ourselves and the balance that we're creating in our life, right? So as Anna mentioned before, trying to find balance, what is your reference point? Are you looking to society to tell you what this balance is? Because society is going to tell you that you are supposed to be X, Y, and Z to be balanced. And that X, Y, and Z may just be a marketing ploy to get you to buy something or do something or travel somewhere, so we really have to take a look at those societal pressures on why they're saying we need to do X, Y, and Z to be balanced. Because in reality, sometimes reducing the amount of things that we're doing or taking a step back from maybe buying the latest and the greatest, right? Like maybe that's when we can start to find more balance in what we already have and what we're already doing. And like I said, I have to check myself all the time with this one, especially when a good opportunity comes up. And I know it's so hard for everyone else to say no to a good opportunity. I know it's not just me, but when you get a good opportunity that comes your way, you got to ask yourself, like, does this actually serve me in the direction I want to go? Is this going to create more balance in my life? Or is this going to have me feeling spread thin where I'm not going to get everything done that I already have committed to? So now I'm overcommitting. And is this going to make me, in the end, feel exhausted and run down and not recharged? So it's like interesting because lately I've had to say no to some opportunities that sounded really good, but I know that in order for me to find balance and harmony in my life, I have to say no to things sometimes. And sometimes society would have told me that that was the wrong thing to do. I should have gone ahead and done it. I can have it all. I can do it all. And that's just a lie. We're presented with choices every single day. And we have to make the choices that are aligned with where we're trying to go and in what direction that we're trying to pave the way for, right? So Libras are problem solvers. They are clever people. So I really like to think of this energy right now as a way to look at some of the ways that we are trying to do it all and figure out a way to just focus on the essential, right? And I have become such an essentialist over the last year through COVID. I really believe in this method of living because it reduces stress, it reduces the amount of friction you have with people, because it's about taking on less, doing less, but the things that you do wholeheartedly, and you do with this confidence and this passion within you so that you don't feel spread thin. And I don't, like, for once in my life, I've actually gotten to a place where I don't feel spread thin. And that is such a huge thing for me to say because I am a constant workaholic. I take on way too much. I love to be around people, which is also a Libra quality. So for those of you that are feeling that urge to like get with all of your friends and your family and spread yourself thin in that way, you could be tapping into that Libra energy right there. And I have to catch myself on that, right? Like, okay, I do love to hang out with people. I do love to hang out with my friends, and I love to talk to my family, and I love to connect with others. But there's certainly a point that I need to find that equanimity or that balance where I cut it off and I reserve time for my own self, like where I'm not committed to being somewhere, meeting up with somebody, talking on the phone with someone, helping someone with something, right? Like I love doing all those things. But if I don't schedule or set aside the time to reset my own energy through the things that I enjoy doing by myself, then I'm not going to show up as wholeheartedly to be with each person, to help that person, or to, catch up with this person. So I've learned through my own mistakes, through doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results and spreading myself thin and trying to do it all, that it's in this impossible reality that, and Anna has a good point. Social media really does blow this whole thing up because we'll look at what everyone else is doing and we think that we have to be doing everything that they're doing. But like, how many times do you think people post something and it looks like they do it every day, but they only did it once that week? Like we have no idea how people are living their life, like they choose what they post that day. And as someone that has been on social media for a long time, there's times I post stuff that wasn't even taken that day. And I never said it was taken that day, but somebody will look at it and think, oh, wow, look at Katie. She's over here doing stuff all day, every day. Like she's super active and she's hooping all the time. When in fact, there was actually a long time that I wasn't hooping every single day. Like it was like I went through a dry season where I was uninspired and I felt super stagnant. And I went through like a low vibrational state where I just talked negative to myself and I couldn't pick up my hoop. And no one would have known that because I didn't share that on social media back then. I didn't think that that's something anyone would want to hear about. And so no one knew that I was actually going through that struggle in that moment. And instead, they probably assumed I was just living this life, having fun, doing this, doing that. And that my point is that because I like I experience that on one end, I can then see it happen on another person's end. So when I look on social media, instead of comparing myself to others and what they're doing and the fun traveling that they're getting to do, and whether it's like they're in some magical paradise looking place in this awesome hotel, or maybe they're doing something really adventurous like white water rafting, or something cool that I've never done before, instead of comparing and thinking, oh man, I should be doing that right now, I try to think of something really happy to say about that person and say like, oh, I'm so happy to see that this person that I know is getting to have a good time and be out in nature. Maybe I should go outside and take a nice deep breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? So instead of comparing, I let these people inspire me, and I don't allow them to lower my vibration, because in reality, we're all posting. Well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but a lot of us are posting to share and to be positive and to spread this cheer that we're experiencing in the moment, right? It's not to bring someone else down. So if you're ever feeling down when you're looking at someone else's stuff, thinking that you wish you had what they had, just remember that the grass is always greener. And everyone always thinks that, right? That this person over here has more of what I want than what I have. And that person's thinking the same thing about you. So if we can just take a second to pause and to really be content with what we have, right? So, one of the niyamas of the 8 limbs of yoga is santosha. That means contentment. If we can truly practice santosha, that's how we can get closer to finding balance, because then it'll be easier to say no to things that we aren't necessarily needing in our lives. And it's easier to make the time to practice self-care. It's easier to find the bright side, the silver lining. And that's another Libra quality. They're very good at finding the bright side. So if anything, let this energy inspire you to find the gratitude that already exists in your life. You are grateful for so much. I know that. It's a fact. Everyone is. There's so much to be grateful for on a minute by minute basis. I actually have a group on Facebook. It's called Flow Culture, and we do these challenges every month. And right now we have a challenge with journaling prompts. And today I had them write out 100 things that they're grateful for. And as I was writing that, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, some people are really going to be mad at me right now, because it's hard for people that don't do this gratitude practice. It can be challenging to sit there and force yourself to write 100 things that you're grateful for. But if it feels hard, then it's really something that you should do, because when you get to the other side of that 100, it's like this magical world opens up before your eyes, and you see things in like a new light, like almost like putting on these rose colored glasses and seeing like this dream world before you, because it's always been there. It's just about taking the time to stop and see, so that we can stop looking outside of ourselves for this validation or this gratification, when it's really within us. And that's how we really find balance, is looking back within, doing the self-work, doing the meditation, doing a yoga practice, taking the time to get to know yourself and your body. And that's how you can get more connected to yourself and your body. And it's only through yoga and meditation and this journaling stuff that I actually found a way to start loving myself, because I too experienced low self-worth and body image issues. And, it's not something that is super uncommon, especially among women. And some men deal with it too. I think that men don't always talk about it. Women might feel a little bit more opening up about it, but more comfortable opening up about it. But I feel like men struggle with this just as much as women do, looking at yourself in the mirror and picking yourself apart and telling yourself all the things that are wrong with you, instead of noticing all of the beauty that's staring right back at you. And I'm not talking about being vain. you know, but there is a level of being able to look at yourself and appreciate the qualities that you enjoy about your appearance, and even looking in your eyes in the mirror and like seeing deeper within past the physical appearance, and just loving yourself for who you are deep down inside, because you're a good person and you help others and you do good work in the world. So just to touch on some more Libra qualities, you know, good at compromising, that kind of helps them find balance, right? Knowing that you can't have it all. Being a good listener, and, you know, hating conformity. So being unique and loving who you are and loving the skin that you're in, you know. So this is all really in line with what Anna opened us up with in this idea of finding love for ourselves and our body, and, you know, not looking for anything outside of ourselves to tell us that we're worth it and that we're worthy of love, because every being on this planet is worthy of love. You know, we're made up of love. So I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I do want to talk to you about Aries qualities, because our sun sign right now rests in Aries. And so we are going to be feeling this for the rest of the month. And so after this full moon passes, as we're coming into a more balanced and harmonious state, whatever that is for you, I also want you to start to think about these fiery qualities that are starting to show face, right? And we're just exiting out of Pisces as our sun sign, and Pisces is a very watery, compassionate, empathetic sign, whereas Aries kind of like, to me, this is how I'm interpreting it. It's like burning away this kapha, stagnant energy that we're like shedding throughout spring, this heaviness of the, you know, colder and, you know, more stagnant months. And now we're starting to burn that away and get back to what energizes us, like what we're passionate about. We're starting to get a little bit more driven as it's starting to get more warmer outside. The days are getting longer, you know. And something that we got to be careful of is when this fire energy starts to surface, we could see ourselves feeling a little bit more competitive or a little bit more irritable at times. And so if you have noticed yourself kind of getting a little bit more short-tempered or impatient or competitive, try to think, instead of coming back to that, you know, more subtle and calm and soothing energy that exists within you, because we just went through Pisces and that was the energy that we're exiting. So try to think of like this cooling water coming through whenever you're feeling a little bit more heated and in the moment, especially if someone's really bothering you. And I have experienced that a little bit this week, and I had to really test my patience with someone, and it was a learning experience for me, and it was like a good learning experience for me. um, but it's important to give yourself that space to cool off. So like Anna said, if you're in a heated argument with someone like your significant other or a friend or a boss or something like that, you know, if you start to feel yourself getting more fiery, then take a moment to step back and maybe cool off, take a breath, give yourself some space from the situation, and let yourself balance back out, right? So like use the Libra energy to help balance out this fiery Aries energy that we're experiencing through the month of April. And, you know, Aries can also be really generous people. And so we're experiencing a lot of generous energy right now. So be careful with how much you're giving out, right? Like you may be driven to help and do and act on all of these things that you want to work on right now, but try to, once again, look at what's essential, what the important things are for right now, what will help you stay aligned with your goals, and how you can stay more balanced in this forward direction of growth, right? So not taking on too much, not doing too much for others, giving yourself that time to really reset and recharge, right? And so I really wanted to ask you all if you're still trying to seek this idea of normal, because it's been about a year now since COVID really has hit this world and caused so many shifts and changes. And I've heard a lot of people say lately, like, oh, I just can't wait for things to go back to normal. We're so close. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's like I understand a little bit of what they're saying, right? Like we want to be able to see our friends and family and kind of have like the freedom to do whatever we want to do again. But like when I hear that statement of, oh, I want things to go back to normal, I think of like all of this positive change that I've experienced in the last year. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go back to how it was before. Like there's obviously been a lot of things to overcome. But I feel like some of the things that have happened in the last year have been a positive change, a positive benefit to the situation. And so instead of thinking about how to go back, instead of looking forward to the past, right? Let's try to think about how we can bring the lessons we've learned into paving this way for the future. And there is no going back, right? Things are always going to be a little bit different, and that's okay. And we can still enjoy our lives. We can still have connection with people. We can still express this desire for freedom without trying to seek this idea of normal, because this normal no longer exists. And by looking towards the past to try to find answers for our future, it's only going to cause more and more disharmony, and it's only going to cause this false expectation of something that can't really happen. We're going to get disappointed is really what I'm saying. They're just like striving for unrealistic societal expectations, once again, going back to the marketing and the ads, especially that we see on social media now, seeing the things that we are being targeted to see and trying to strive for these unrealistic expectations of how much money we're supposed to make per year, how many countries we visited, how many kids we have, do our kids have matching clothes, do they take really cute pictures on Instagram, and what schools are my kids in, and are they in the best of the best schools, or are they good at a sport, like I could go on, and I know a lot of you have kids, some of you don't have kids, I certainly don't have kids, but I know that that's a huge one right now, especially just with how much we share on social media, and without even knowing it, like causes this anxiety in other parents, like, oh, my kids need to be better. And, it's really silly, but notice that competitive energy if it's starting to show up in your life, and try to see how you can come from a place of love and support and community instead of competition, because no one has to be the same as anyone else. There is no normal. Everyone is unique in their own way. And that's what makes this world such a special place. And I just really want to get back to a way of expressing our uniqueness without feeling like we need to go back to normal. And I think that's really my point, is in the last several months, I just keep hearing people say, I want to go back to normal. I want to go back to normal. And it's like, no, normal is boring. Like just live moment to moment, and just let this moment excite you, because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And we can't go back to normal. We can't go back to the past. All we have is today. So I really liked this gift, so I added this in. What really is normal? So instead, we can create our own reality. Being grateful for what you already have will amplify what you want to bring more of into your life. To stop comparing and to start creating. If you can co-create with someone instead of compete with them, oh my gosh, like Anna and I have been co-creating for the last 6 months. And if we had spent that last 6 months competing with each other, we would not have at all successfully accomplished all the things that we've co-created together. So if that tells you anything, like start co-creating with some people out there. You don't have to compete. You can share your unique gifts with each other and rise up together. And that involves a little bit of trust in yourself, trust in that other person that you're co-creating in, or co-creating with, but let your dreams and let your gratitude help you lead the way, because anyone that's showing up tonight, anyone that's willing to do the work, you are a leader. You are someone that is truly meant to pave the way and to help people find the light. And I 100% believe that. And I know a lot of you that just keep showing up month after month, doing the work. I've seen the positive impact you've had on people around you. And I just want to say thank you so much for being the leader that you are, because we need more leaders like you in this world, being unique, shining their light, and amplifying this beautiful energy that the world truly needs. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the torch back over to Anna.
Yes. I love what Katie was speaking about desire, because at the end of the day, that's what life is about. It's this endless, just instincts and impulses of desiring something, wanting something, and then either you achieve that desire or you don't. And sometimes that desire is good for you, and sometimes it's not good for you. And again, that's why the reference point that we're talking about, this moon in Libra, is such a good time for you to even weigh your desires as well. Yes, a desire to be healthy is good, but not if it comes from a place of hating where you are now. A desire to have more abundance in life is good, but not at the cost of not appreciating what you have now. And that's the beauty of yoga, is how can we encompass both dualities? How can we allow the reality of now to be real, but not take away from what we are creating? And what comes through in a lot of that is needing validation. Many of us have these impulses, their desires to do things creative, things outside of the box, try things in a different way. And yet sometimes our first instinct is actually a harmful instinct. It's to quell that desire. It's to push down that like yummy yearning that comes through, but also has a twinge of resistance to it. And that resistance is created by us and believing that, who are we to have this? Who am I to want this? Other people aren't saying that there's a problem with what's happening right now. Other people aren't like screaming about how life just doesn't feel good this way. Who am I to question? And that idea, that who am I, again, I think that arises from the disconnect that happens with us and our body. In Ayurveda, in yoga, in so many holistic modalities that are indigenous to the land, they thought of the body of its own sense. That yes, there's taste, there's touch, there's smell, there's all of this, but there's also an intuition that comes from senses that the body is picking up. We have all been able to walk into a room and immediately feel the energy and feel if there's been a fight that you're walking into, or maybe like some sort of disagreement. How are you feeling that? That's partly the body noticing all these subconscious cues, this energy that's there, but maybe not necessarily visible, and sending a message. But when we spend all of our day saying the body is bad, the body's not good enough, the body is this, the body needs to be doing this, and cutting off pieces of us, we cut ourselves off from that intuition. We cut ourselves off from these messages that are rising up. And that first statement that we read at the beginning, the cultural power of the body is its beauty, but power in the body is rare, for most have chased it away with their torture of or embarrassment of the flesh. That's what they're speaking to. Real power, the power of intuition, is being cut off at the source. This is the source. The body is the source, and we're cutting it off with our self-hatred and self-denial. Later on, she goes to say, in the wild psyche, the body is understood as being a being in its own right, one who loves us, depends on us, one to whom sometimes we are mother, and who sometimes is mother to us. And I love that. because sometimes we have to talk to ourselves and tell our body things are okay. Sometimes the body gets caught up in the past and we're having a conversation with someone and the heart pounds and the hand starts to sweat and you feel the body clench. And in that moment, that's when we mother ourselves and we say, I'm safe. I trust myself to communicate. I trust myself to hold this boundary. And then in other moments, when we are not feeling strong enough, the body can tell us, hey, you're not sleeping. You deserve rest. Hey, friend, you're not eating good enough. Can you please love yourself enough to nourish? How beautiful if instead of looking externally for validation, we shifted that gaze and again started to look internally. All the answers are inside. And so I ask you now, what is validation? What does that word come up with for you? Who are you looking to for validation? What are you searching for in others? Validation is simply just another impulse. Ooh, I need something for someone else. It's a repetitive thought pattern. Every time we engage in repetitive thinking, we're really trying to work out an emotion that's brewing underneath the thinking. Can you catch yourself in these thoughts and try to get underneath them? So when you can step back from identifying with the validation and instead looking at it as kind of a coping mechanism, what are you searching for in that moment? Are you feeling unsafe, unloved? What do you think the other person can give you to make you be more comfortable? As we're in Aries, which is all about this individualistic, this own self-knowing, we are invited again to start internally validating ourselves. So some examples of external validation is if you're at work, you're doing a group project. I'm sure pretty much everyone in here has been that person in the group to get stuck doing all the work. If you have this internal narrative of, if I just suck it up and do all the work this time, they'll realize how much I sacrifice for them and they'll give me what I want. Do you feel the powerlessness in that? The giving up of power, if I do this, I'll get this? There's a completely different way. An internal way of validating self could be, I'm going to handle this. I want to see the project succeed and I can make it happen. And again, they're the same action, handling the project, but the approach is different. One is disempowering, one is empowering. In one, we're looking to others to prove self-worth, and we tend to have an energy of martyrdom. You tend to be coming from a place of, okay, I'm making a sacrifice, I'm giving. And again, Aries, as Katie was saying, it's a giving, generous energy. But what happens when we're giving? Really because we're looking to receive. Is that really giving? Again, I don't think there's a yes or no answer to that, but just a distinction we should pay closer attention to. Instead, internally validating yourself is looking for growth opportunities and claiming them. Being in a hard situation and saying, okay, I'm here. How can I make this mine? How can I shift the energy of this moment? How can I leave my mark? In external validation, we're making it the responsibility of others to respect your boundaries and keep things comfortable. You're asking, oh, if I do this for you, you'll like me. Oh, if I graduate, you'll think I'm smart. I'll prove I can follow through. Internally validating is stating and claiming your boundaries and making that your responsibility. Not looking to others to make you feel good, but making yourself feel good. Not looking to others to make you feel secure, but just being secure in your own knowing. And again, what's scary about this, about looking at ways we've been validating ourselves and looking at ways that our reference points could be wrong, is what if everything we've been working towards isn't real, isn't wanted? You have all of this momentum. You're doing the yoga, you're meditating, you're reading the books, you're being kind, you're creating this energy. But what happens if your alignment is in the wrong place? What if you're going not in the direction of your desire, but in the direction of what someone else is telling you to desire? What is desire in itself? Desire is timeless. It's an innate force. It's intuitive. It only can be felt. And so if we know that, why are we asking for words of validation of what only we know inside, of only what the body can tell us? One of my favorite quotes is, "Seek not to follow in the footsteps of the wise one of old. Seek what they sought." And see, it's understanding that you are here at this moment, at this time, in this body, this manifestation of self, for a reason, for your own truth, for the perspective that you see. You're not here to follow and create the same thing. You're here to see ways that more positive can come, new ways of being. Seeking what they sought, the wise ones of old sought oneness, connection, love, equanimity. They were not seeking validation. They didn't go up to the top of the mountain expecting a bunch of people to continuously tell them how great they are. They were in silence. Instead, they let that validation come from the internal voice within, turning that small s self to the bigger S, from the doer to the watcher. What if you can see something that others can't? A lot of people I meet in yoga talk about feeling the energy of others, being an empath. What if that is the truth? What if you do see something others can't see? When you are leading edge, that means you're on the edge. You are creating actively. You are directing the journey. You are making the path as you step forward. There's no one around you to give you validation if you're creating new, if you are leading edge. And so if instead you're turning your head to look for someone else to tell you that you're right, that you're on track, what you're really doing is you're turning away from the path in front of you and you're looking to the past. Yes, the past has lessons for us, but it's so those lessons can be looked for the future, for being able to be more in this present now, so that we intuitively know the direction that we're meant to go. And so I want you to write down in your journal, who is the number one person you look to in your life to validate your experience? Is it your significant other? When you come home from work and you're talking about your day, if they don't see things the way you see them, do you react? Because that means that you needed validation. If you truly knew that what you were feeling was okay and right, it wouldn't bother you because you don't need their validation. You know the truth. Knowing and believing are two slightly different energies, but there's an important distinction between the two of them. Is it a friend? Do you go to a friend with questions about your relationship and then how you feel depends on their response? Do you feel judged? Katie and I earlier were speaking about co-creation. And co-creation is this beautiful thing that can happen between two people when they don't need validation from each other. Because when you don't need validation, there's no fear. Because I know I have what I need. And I'm sharing my experience with you so that you can take what resonates to amplify what you need. And you work back and forth and expect the other to be truthful and to know that your intention is kindness and loving. And even a moment that's not what they felt, to hold that vision of you. And that means that you have to be able to do that for someone else. That means that when someone as maybe having a day where they didn't show up according to the book of law in your head, that instead you laugh at yourself and realize, woohoo, here is another balance point. Here is an idea of where I think you should be or what should be. Do I really believe this? In this society, we are constantly telling each other, change your behavior so that I feel more comfortable. And I'm not saying things are right or wrong. I'm simply going to be listing out things so that you hear how often this happens. But wear a mask, be scared. Don't wear a mask, resist. Be scared. Don't have fear. Be angry. Angry is bad. Do the work. Be a better part of society. Like, you're constantly being told what to do and to adjust your own thinking. And again, it gets this in this cyclical pattern of second guessing ourselves. It is so important that all of us can speak our truth without fear, because only when there isn't fear is there space for a new possibility to exist. And as Katie was talking earlier about normal, I don't think any of us want to go back to the old normal. I think we want a new normal, a better normal, a more congruent, healthy, harmonious normal. And that's going to start within us and within our relationship to ourselves. And so for just a moment, I'd like you to bring your hands to your thighs and close the eyes again. And we'll begin this journey inward. Every time we close our eyes to the external pull of the outside, bringing the awareness in, swadhyaya, self-study, we're strengthening that muscle of awareness, controlling our own focus, not allowing the wants or desires of others to influence in which direction we move. And come into the breath. Notice the quality of the mind. Notice the sound in the room. Do you hear spaciousness in the air around you? Do you feel the temperature against the skin? If the mind wanders, smile and invite the awareness back to the breath. Again, strengthening the muscle of awareness. Breathing in, feel yourself expand. Breathing out, shoulders fall away from the ears. Again, space. And in this moment, I invite you to ask yourself, if I gave myself the power to create normal, what would my normal be? Setting aside all the ways we judged ourselves at the beginning of the day, these wrong and imbalanced reference points. Coming to your journal, just begin to write maybe a short excerpt of what you want your normal to be. I want my normal to be full of presence and joy and constantly living out what I believe, in whatever way that means, but without judgment. And so as you can see, it can be kind of vague and out there because this is about something that really it's more felt. So don't second guess yourself. And as I leave you on to Katie, I just want to leave you with some lasting words of that self-validation is ownership. This is your life. This is your body. And if your family or your friends or your coworkers or the people around you have been telling you who to be and what to believe and what to think and what to do, I give you permission to let that go and stop looking to others to tell you what you know in your heart is right. I trust everyone in this circle and everyone viewing this now to allow their heart to know the difference and discern between right action and wrong action. And I hope everyone here can trust themselves a little bit deeper, and through small actions of self-love, of refusing to look to others for validation and instead loving ourselves to answer our own questions, we can start to shift this paradigm and give space for more people to live their truth. As we're coming into springtime, it's all about growth. It's about expansion. It's about moving forward. And that requires people to move the edge forward. And I'm really excited to be a part of people that have the vision to see that we can continue moving forward. So passing you on to Katie, and thank you.
Yeah, that one really hit home for me, the meditation that we just experienced. It's just so interesting when we're all meditating together, how, for me anyways, I feel such a higher vibration happening because we're all kind of meditating on the same concept or the same idea, even though we're having different experiences and maybe different feelings, sensations in the body. My foot was falling asleep, for example, so I had to like extend my leg out and like shake it a little bit. And that may not have been your experience, but still, like, this inner vibration of all of us doing the same thing at the same time, it's so powerful and strong. And I really want to talk more about what high vibrational living and high vibrational thinking is, because I think it's important as we try to take ownership of our life, our circumstances, our choices, and not needing validation from others. I think that it's super important to come back to this high vibrational thought process. And it can also help us step into more of that contentment, santosha, right? Or gratitude. Because once you can align with this high vibrational thinking or behavior or actions, then it's easier to amplify that and to create more of that in your life. So I'm going to share my screen once again. And picking up where we left off right here, creating our own reality. So what is the difference between high vibrational thinking and low vibrational thinking? So I'm going to give you an example. This is 100% from my personal life. It just happened on Friday. And I'll just give the short version of the story. So I work at Lotus Pond, and I was leaving Lotus Pond and I'm going to my kickboxing class. And some of you already know, because I've been talking about it a lot lately, I've been on a kickboxing rampage and I've been hitting classes every single day because we're in this little challenge that is amongst the studio members to try to get more attendance to the classes. And really, I'm on a 1 month unlimited, so I'm going to just keep going as much as I can for this month. So it kind of worked out for me either way. So anyways, I'm going to the kickboxing class and I left with just enough time to get there with 10 minutes to put my wraps on my hands, get my gloves on, stretch a little bit. Like I like to get places early. So I was taking the Suncoast Parkway all the way up towards the Trinity Newport Richey area. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the Florida area, that you don't know this area, well, if you miss the Newport Richey exit on the Suncoast Parkway, you've got like a 20-minute extra additional time added to your trip because there is not another exit for like 10 miles up the road. It was crazy. So, okay, so what's the difference between low vibrational thinking and high vibrational thinking is since that actually happened to me, I missed my exit and I had to go 10 miles up the road to make a U-turn to turn around. I lost that 10-minute buffer and I actually was going to end up being late. Like when I put on the GPS, like, oh gosh, like how am I even going to make this class? It was telling me I was going to be like 3 minutes late. So I could have stopped and said, all of this negative stuff like, oh, I can't believe I missed my exit. Now I'm going to be late to class. I'm going to lose this competition. I won't even be able to mark this class off as something I did now. I really was looking forward to the class. Or, oh, I could go late, but now I'm just going to be embarrassed because I'm walking in late. I'm never late. Everyone's going to look at me. Oh, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like that's the voice I could have started playing in my head. And it could have taken me down this rabbit hole of feeling sorry for myself. Now I'm just going to turn around and go home and I'm not going to be happy with myself because I really wanted to go to the kickboxing class and it sounded like fun. Like I would have just been like super bummed out for the rest of the night and maybe even into the next day. Right. I would have held on to this like little bitty resentment of missing my exit and blaming whatever caused me to miss my exit. So instead of thinking that low vibrational thought pattern where it kind of spiraled down into like this negative self-talk, I instead went the completely different direction. And I saw myself, I'm going to be honest with you, I saw myself start going there like, oh shit, I can't believe I just missed my exit, you know? So instead of going down that rabbit hole, I was like, okay, hold on. All right, I may have missed my exit, but now I can actually listen to the rest of my podcast, which just happens to be about like 17 extra minutes. So that's going to give me enough time to listen to the whole thing. I don't have to like stop in between and like pick up where I left off. And yeah, I may be late to class, but like I've seen people come in late to the kickboxing classes. So they walk in through the warm up. Oh, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to miss half the warm up. This is great. Just so y'all know, the warm up for this kickboxing class is like a high intensity interval training. It's like going to boot camp. It's crazy. So yeah, missing a few minutes of that, totally fine with me. So I started going down this like high vibrational thought pattern where now I'm thinking of all the good things that are coming from me missing my exit, right? And then I thought, well, I'm only going to be a few minutes late, so it's not like I have to miss the whole class. That's kind of silly. So I just started heading that way anyways, and I kept going and I ended up 4 minutes late. Wasn't a big deal. Wasn't the end of the world. Had a great time at the class. And I didn't let myself spiral and create this negative pattern or this negative series of events that would have followed after that low vibrational thinking. So that's a real life example from my life. Now that you know, I love kickboxing. That's the name of the place I go to as well. Also, anyone that wants to go kickboxing and you live in the area, I can bring people. So if you ever want to go with me, it's really fun and I would love to have a buddy. So just let me know. But to continue on with this exploration of vibration and how to think more in a positive and high vibrational thought process. Okay, let's take another example with the rain. And all of us love the Sunshine State. That's why we live here. I don't know if anyone on here is not in Florida. I can't see the gallery right now, but I know sometimes we have people that join from out of state. If you're not from the Sunshine State, I apologize because it's awesome here. But it does rain here. And there are definitely days where it rains, especially throughout the summer. And it kind of blocks you from doing things that you want to do. And, you know, just recently I had an experience where it hadn't really rained in a while and then it rained. And it was like a day that I had off, and I could have been like, oh man, it's raining today. I can't go outside. I can't do my nature walk. I can't weed the garden. I only have a couple days off. Of course, this would happen on my day off, you know? And there it is again, this negative spiral where now I'm feeling sorry for myself and I'm wasting my day because of the rain, and I'm blaming the rain for my waste of day. So instead, I decided that, wow, look at this rain. It's going to nourish my plants outside. The grass really needs it. Hasn't rained in weeks. Now this is really great actually, because I want to get some of this project done that I've been putting off. Now I'm forced to do it because I can't go outside like I normally would. Oh, and you know what? Maybe I'll call that friend that I haven't talked to in a while. I really need to talk to them too. It's been so long, and it would be a great time to catch up. So see what I did there? The same situation, the same rain, but I chose to go down a high vibrational pattern instead of a low vibrational pattern, because our thoughts create our reality. So if we want to create a new reality, if we want to pave the way for the future, it first starts with our thoughts. Okay? So here's another example before I let you start doing your own. I love where I live. It's paradise. When the time is right, I'll travel somewhere new and I'll get to have an adventure. No one has a perfect life. I have no idea what this person on social media is struggling with at the moment. I'm grateful for all that is in my life. Right. So this is me like trying to talk to myself when I'm looking at people traveling and having a good time on social media, because I'm one of those people that have not gotten to do a lot of traveling. And I actually get to take a trip this year to Costa Rica, and I'm super excited about that because I've never even been out of the country before. So, you know, instead of thinking like, oh man, I wish I could go travel more and visit places like this girl and on Instagram, wow, her life looks so perfect and easy and amazing. Oh, I wish I did what she did for work. I bet she's so happy with what she does. Oh yeah, I bet her life must be perfect. I wish I had her life. You know, instead of thinking those things, I think like, actually, I'm pretty blessed. Like I live in a really tropical paradise kind of place. It's sunny, it's beautiful. We get short winters. We have a lot of opportunities to go to the beach or the rivers or the springs. Like Florida is pretty awesome. And I actually have a pretty good life. So I'm pretty grateful for what I have. Right. So try to notice when you hear that low vibrational thinking start to take place. You know, we all have it. So I don't care who you are, either watching this recording, if you're on the meeting live, you have had some low vibrational thoughts recently. We all get them. We're human. And it's very common to not want to talk about them because, you know, we don't want to be like the Debbie Downer in the room. Right. So we may hold them to ourselves and not share them with others. And I'm not telling you to do that, but I just want you to know that just because you haven't heard anyone's low vibrational thoughts doesn't mean that they're not having them too. So instead of trying to compare and compete, if we can connect back to gratitude and source to create more of a high vibrational energy within us, that's when we can amplify this gratitude, this abundance, to then see it manifest in our lives, see it manifest in those around us lives. Like it's a pretty contagious thing, you know, and I just think that it's such a good opportunity to spread kindness and to spread hope and love, especially because we all have had a pretty challenging year. And if anything, if we can come out of this with more love and more light to share, then we can really start to make an impact on the world around us. So before we get to this slide, I want you to take a moment to write down some of your low vibrational thoughts that you've been having. And it might just be one that you have time for right now, but I want you to come back to this activity later on. And if you're watching the recording, you can just pause it right here and just take as much time as you need. But I want you to think about some of the low vibrational thoughts you've been having. And instead of thinking about how to make it the opposite, right, and be fake about it and not 100% resonate with the high vibrational thought, I just want you to be real with yourself. I want you to start thinking about the silver linings in the situation. I want you to find at least one good thing that can come out of it, one good thing that you can shift to, and see where it goes from there. And even if it's just one thing, I know my sentences were long on those slides, but I've been practicing the art of high vibrational thinking for a long time now. So it's easier for me to kind of get on a roll with it. If this is something that's new for you, you may not right away feel comfortable with shifting from this negative thought to a positive thought, because that's like jumping from like yin to yang, 0 to 100. Like there's some space in between that. And it's okay to be in that in between space and just say one thing that can kind of help shift you out of negative thinking into semi-negative, semi-positive, right? Like if you can get there today, that is just good enough for me. So I invite you to explore that, to be patient with yourself, and to just see if you can shift your perspective on a couple things that you've been a little down about or a little negative about. So I'm just going to give you about a minute or so to write that down. And remember, if you're watching this live, you can also come back to this later and expand throughout the rest of the evening, or, even beyond today. This could be a continued exploration. So just wrapping up with your thoughts for now, so that we can talk just a little bit more about how to develop some more confidence, since Aries is kind of asking us to step into our power, to step into our confidence, right? Some of you may be like, well, I'm not feeling very confident right now, and I don't really know how to get there. Well, let me tell you, this is something that I have been working on for the past few years, really ever since I started teaching, because that's when it hit me that I had like some low confidence in myself. So I started trying to take up these practices to help amplify my confidence. And that also gave me the ability to set clear boundaries with people, to own my thoughts, to create high vibrational thoughts, and to not seek validation from others. So it's all really intertwined and related, right? And having and developing some confidence can really start to create some huge shifts in your life. Take it from someone who spent the first half of her life just hiding in the corner, trying to not be seen. And now I realize that there is no harm in sharing your gifts with the world, right? Because that's what brings us all together, is when we can share that with others. So some things that I like to do to help develop confidence is singing and dancing. So part of something that Annalise and I are working on is to incorporate a little bit more ecstatic dance in our full moon circles. So we're still working out all the details, but that's something that we really want to start doing with you guys, especially as we start to bring the circles back to in person at the studio, to add in something like that at the end to help us shake off, let go, and to help raise the vibration, to create and amplify this confidence in ourselves, to move freely and to express ourselves creatively. So we're going to give you some more details with that as we figure them out ourselves. But I just wanted to let you know that we're working on something like that for this collective, because we think it's a super important thing to do, especially right now as we're all going through changes. So something else that I like to do, and I do this almost every day, is power poses. And power poses, as cheesy as it sounds, can be like standing in a Wonder Woman stance, or, even in my yoga classes, I'll have my students end in a Tadasana with their arms out to the sides, like the wrists right in the shoulder level, and just open and expand the arms out so that you feel this openness across your heart space. Like that could be a power pose. Open heart mountain is what I often call it, but you may have another name for it. You can also think of a power pose as just like standing tall, looking at yourself in the mirror, maybe saying positive affirmations as you're doing that. And trust me, I get it. I used to feel super cheesy when I did that, but after doing it this long, I now realize that I should have been doing it longer. Like this is so game changing, because now I actually believe the words that I'm saying to myself. It took me a while, but I'm finally here. And when I talk to myself, when I look in the mirror, or when I'm in my car even and I'm driving and I kind of have a pep talk with myself, I know that I actually believe the words because I've given myself this time. I've made the time to really develop some self-love and self-confidence. And I let myself be awkward in the beginning. There's such a good poem by David White called Swan. I won't have time to tell you about it now, but if you have time to look it up later, it's such a great representation of how it felt for me trying to learn positive affirmations. And I just invite you to listen to it. I might even send it to you guys via email because it's just a really good poem. Yeah. So, okay. Something else you can do. I know we're running out of time. We may be a little over, but I just want to share a couple more things with you. I promise. Complimenting others and helping out others. And you're probably thinking, okay, well, how is this going to help me develop more confidence to say something nice to someone else? Well, let me tell you, if you can compliment someone without feeling less than or without feeling like you should be more like them, that is not only more empowering for you, but you're also empowering that person by maybe saying something to them that they needed to hear in that moment. So it's like you're giving this energy that you want to receive. So by putting that energy out into the universe, it's going to come back to you in tenfold. That's the law of attraction. So the more what you put out into the world, the more you try to notice and appreciate other people's confidence and good qualities, the more you're going to see those qualities come out in yourself. And helping others is just a confidence booster because, who doesn't like to help other people? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel really great after I help someone, especially when it's something that is not even a big deal for me. It's like such a small thing from my end, but it made like a huge difference in their life. So you never know, like it could be just a kind word, a gesture, a smile. It could be helping someone with their bags or the door. And I know that we're in COVID times still, and it's hard to always get into someone's personal space. So maybe it's just helping someone from a distance and being there for them when they need someone to talk to, right? Because that Libra energy, remember, has good listeners. So maybe that's asking us to step into that quality right now, is being a good listener and being there for others. So let's all bring our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra, pressing the palms together, lifting the heart up to meet the thumbs, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Place one hand over the heart, the other hand on top. Take a few breaths, just breathing into your hands, letting the energy of this workshop just settle. And giving yourself the next few moments to just let it absorb. Trusting that you are exactly where you need to be. Trust that you're doing exactly what you need to be doing. And trust that you are unique and special and have so much to offer this world. And before you open your eyes, I invite you to step into this confident, shining, radiant self that you are, so that you can lead the way for yourself, no longer seeking validation from others, but instead shining the light for those who are still lost. And if you'd like to join in sealing this entire practice with the sacred sound of Om, you're more than welcome to join, or you can just listen. Inhaling first, and then we'll chant. Deep breath. Inhale. And exhale with a sigh. Release the hands down and open the eyes.